Mazda and electric power haven't exactly gone hand in hand over the last few years. Whilst almost every single car maker is rushing out brand new electric cars, Mazda has decided to offer what customers want in the here and now. So it's been developing new plug-in hybrids, mild hybrids, and also developing a brand new diesel engine. Yes, a 3.3 litre straight-six diesel. I'm not here to drive that though today. I'm here to look at this, the new Mazda CX-60. Now, Mazda has had some experience with pure electric cars. There was the MX-30 launched around 5 years ago, but that was very much a dipping of Mazda's toe in the water. This is very much more like a plunge into the world of pure electric motoring. I'm James Batchelor and you're watching Batch Reviews, and in this video I'm going to be taking a full walk around tour of this new Mazda CX-60. We're going to look at the styling, we're going to look at the interior and then take it for a drive. For much more content like this, please do hit the subscribe button. If you've got any questions about this car, drop them in the comments box below. Now let's take a good look around this Mazda CX-60 then. So this car is not going to be arriving here in the UK until next summer. So this is a very early drive. It's a left-hand drive car, and as you can tell by the plates, this car is from Switzerland. But I really like the design of this car. Now, it's got the next generation kind of Mazda face. Of course, it doesn't need a traditional grille, but the grille is alluded to with this trim. These lights here, which do all kinds of fancy dances and fancy sequencing, particularly when the car is charging. We've got these lovely day running lights here, which change to the indicators when you're turning. One thing I do like is it's kept this Mazda design theme of when you put the indicators on, the indicators kind of glow, they kind of pulsate, they don't flash, they kind of pulsate. Hope you appreciate the hand gestures there.
It's worth saying at this point that the CX-60 was jointly developed with the Chinese firm Changan. The CX-60, or the EZ6 as it's called in China, is built by the Changan Mazda joint venture in Nanjing, China. So it's quite a big departure from the Japanese designed and engineered cars that we are used to here in the UK. But it must be said, the CX-60 does look like a Mazda on the outside, and it fits into the rest of the current Mazda range in terms of design very well.
One thing I do like about it is, in contrast to cars like the Volkswagen ID.7, this car doesn't seem to sit up very high. It seems to be very low, very svelte, and it doesn't look like an electric car. It just looks like a very nicely designed saloon cum hatchback. Round to the rear then, and again, it's incredibly good looking. So we've got these very kind of Mazda trademark sort of 4 semicircular lights. We've seen this on the Mazda 3, and Mazda even referenced the Mark III last generation RX-7 actually. Doesn't look like an RX-7 to me, but it does look very Mazda-y from the back, doesn't it? Again, it's got this really nice kind of ducktail kind of look where it's pointed here and then scallops in and then kicks down at the bottom. This is a deployable rear wing, so above speeds, I think it's 56 miles an hour, it pops up to give a bit of extra stability and aero efficiency. Nice design of lights here, and as is the way with lots of car brands these days, the car name is spelt out, so there's no Mazda badge on the back. You do get it on the front, but not on the back. Boot wise, well, I haven't got the precise literage for you, but apparently this boot is larger than the BYD Seals and the Hyundai Ioniq 6 is, but it is a bit smaller than the Tesla Model 3, but it's still a pretty good shape. And of course, unlike the Tesla Model 3, this is a proper hatchback, so it makes loading those larger items just a little bit easier because you've got more space up here. But yeah, generally speaking, a pretty good sized boot. Let's take a look under here, shall we? What's under here? Just warning triangle and some tyre squidgy stuff. But yeah, Not a huge amount to say about the boot, but it's not too bad. The thing that is interesting about this car, not only do we have a boot, but we've also got a frunk. So let's just lift this up here. Where's the handle? There it is. There we are, about 71 litres, 72 litres I think. We've actually got the charging cables here in a nice Mazda branded bag. But yeah, that is a really good, useful space. I've actually got a whole little carrier box here. But yeah, a good, useful space there. And then in the back, as is the way with lots of electric cars now, but particularly Chinese ones, rear legroom is superb in the back. Knee room is brilliant. That seat is set up in my driving position, and yet you've got, I don't know, 2 feet of rear legroom, completely flat floor, and it all feels very light and airy with this 2-piece sunroof. Hopping into the back, and you can see a little bit more there. Look, I'm just sitting upright and I've got tons of knee room and loads of headroom as well. Despite having this roof, it is not too bad. I think if you were a little bit over 6 foot, your head might brush a little bit against the roof, but it's really not too bad at all, and it's pretty comfortable back here. Let's just pull down this armrest, which is easier said than done. I have not rehearsed this, as you can tell. Yeah, a couple of cup holders there. But yeah, it is very comfortable and very spacious back here. Just in case you forget what you're in, there's a Mazda logo there. We've got climate controls down here as well. And you can adjust the roof as well, should you wish. But I'd like it open, please. Isofix points in both outer seats. And yes, one thing I will say is the quality of the materials, and we should look a lot more at this in the front, but in the back, sometimes the quality can tail off in the back, even in this class of car, but not here. It all feels extremely nice and well put together. In the front then, and let's actually hop in and put this seat all the way back. So one thing I didn't show you there, we've got frameless doors, which is quite premium, isn't it? The design of this dashboard, well, we'll come on to the design in a minute, because the design very much revolves around this screen. But the thing I want to talk to you most about is the sense of quality in here, because it is really, really very good indeed, surprisingly good. So, I mean, Mazda's, as we've seen with the CX-80 and CX-60, for example, the quality of Mazda's interiors is very good these days. Everything here feels really nice. This car is a Takumi Plus, so we get this Alcantara trim, nice stitching here. It all feels absolutely lovely, nice and soft and quality feeling. Lots of soft touch across the top here. Again, a little bit more. We've got Mazda embossed in this plastic here. And interestingly, it isn't kind of an instrument binnacle. It's just like a block. I really like that. Can you see? This screen is just like a block. It's not kind of set into the dashboard. Head-up display, and the seats themselves, I've only had a quick drive of this car, but they seem to be very, very comfortable. A lot of adjustment as well. I think they'd probably stand up very well to a long journey. Big centre console. There is a lot of underfloor storage here, but I do like the way it's not all open here. It does feel kind of a bit traditional, I suppose. A couple of cup holders. We've got phone charging here as well. And then just under here, you press this Mazda button, and then you've got a big cubby down there. Steering wheel, again, really nice quality, feels good to hold, although we don't have, in a big change from Mazda's current range, you don't get individual buttons here. They're all on like one great big pad, if you see what I mean. So if you press that, the whole kind of block moves. Which I think is a bit of a shame, and they stick very proud. So if you've got your hand, if you'd like to sort of drive with your hands at 1/4 to and 1/4 past, which I do, you find that your thumb is always pressing or has a tendency to press these buttons. One nice thing here though, you've got two buttons here which can be your favourites. Mazda have actually set for this test drive, they've set the left one as your windscreen wipers and the one on the right for your headlamps, which does bring me onto this touchscreen, because in a big contrast to the Mazdas of the past kind of 10 years where you've had a screen at the top and the screen has been controlled with a rotary knob down here. This is all touchscreen, and this is something which Mazda can't really change from the Chinese base car. The look and feel of this infotainment system is very Chinese. The design of the logos looks very kind of Chinesey. A huge amount of settings and controls for a huge amount of infinitesimal, really. And of course, everything is controlled through this. Cabin comfort, fold the mirrors, it's with a touchscreen. Unfold. So yeah, this is not a deep dive of this screen, but everything is controlled through it. I should talk a little bit more about this when I take this for a drive, but an early kind of hint, I'm not massively keen on it.
If tan isn't your thing, there are other colour options such as white or traditional black. Whether Mazda UK will offer a selection of interior colours is not yet clear, but it is very likely. If it were me, I'd go for the tan.
Now, what's quite unusual about this Mazda 6e is you can get it with two different battery sizes and power outputs. That's not too unusual, lots of its rivals get that as well. But what is unusual about this is, well, the actual stats. So let me just tell you what they are. So there are two different types of batteries. I don't mean battery sizes, I mean types of battery. So the smaller battery is a 68.8 kilowatt hour pack, but it's an LFP battery. There's also an 80 kilowatt hour pack, but that's an NMC battery pack. So two different kinds of battery technology are available in the Mazda 6e. Now the smaller pack, the LFP, the 68.8 kilowatt hour pack, gets a 258 horsepower motor, and it gets a DC rapid charging time of 24 minutes. However, if you go for that larger pack, the 80 kilowatt hour pack, which is the NMC, I hope you're keeping up, you get a 245 horsepower motor. So it's a less powerful motor, yet you get a larger battery. And because it's different battery technology, and because it's a bit larger, the DC rapid charging time is also different. It's 47 minutes with the 80 kilowatt hour. That's compared to the 24 minutes of the smaller pack. So you get a larger battery, less powerful motor, slower DC rapid charging time. Strange. Both motors though, they send their power to the rear wheel. So this is a rear wheel drive car. There's no dual motor version on the horizon. So potentially this could live up to Mazda's kind of record for delivering very sporty and very engaging to drive cars. Now, there is one thing that Mazda knows how to do, and that is to make sporty feeling cars. Setting aside the obvious MX-5, because that is inherently a sporty car because it's a two-seater sports car, the rest of the range has a sporty feeling, whether it's the Mazda 3 that feels really engaging for a family hatchback, right the way up to the CX-60, which compared to its other large SUVs just feels a little bit slightly more engaging to drive than a Volvo XC90, Land Rover Discovery, that kind of ilk. So there's a sporty flavour to the way all Mazdas drive right across the range. You could even say that about the MX-30, the original pure electric Mazda that's now no longer on sale. Even that had a bit of a thing about it. There was a little bit more to it than just a homogeneous electric SUV. This Mazda 6e, however, isn't in the same ilk, and you can blame the fact that this isn't a proper Mazda. It's not built by Mazda, it's built by Changan, And yes, it does look like a Mazda. They've done a very good job at Mazdarizing it. Very good job, actually. I'm not just saying that lightly. I mean, the way it looks on the outside, the quality in here all feels very, very Mazda. But when you get behind the wheel, that Mazda-iness starts to kind of fade away a little bit. So why am I saying this? What are the feelings, what are the sensations that I'm getting that make it not feel like a Mazda which we are used to? There are a few things. Firstly, the steering. By no means bad. In actual fact, I think the steering feel and the weighting and the accuracy is better than something like a VW ID.7, a Hyundai Ioniq 6. It's probably on par with the Tesla Model 3, but it's a long way short of something like a Polestar 2. There just isn't quite the level of... It doesn't quite turn in the way I'm expecting or wanting it to deliver that kind of sporting feeling. Of course it goes where you want it to, but I'm not getting the sensation that it's really hooked up to the front wheels in a very kind of accurate kind of way. The steering weighting is nice, although it feels a little bit rubbery at slower speeds when you're going around slow corners, but it weights up quite nicely, and the steering system itself just feels better when you're on the move. The ride quality of this car is really very good indeed. Surprisingly good, actually. Let me just negotiate this junction before I carry on. That's another Mazda thing, the sound of that indicator, can you hear? Very Chinesey sound. And also the indicator stalk itself, it looks a bit like a Mercedes knockoff. And it doesn't clicks down like in a European or Japanese kind of way. It kind of stays in its position, if you know what I mean. Right, we're just going through a little village here, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Let me deal with this traffic, and I shall pick up. I shall resume where I stopped. Anyway, what was I saying? Ride, that was it. In a lot of electric cars, due to the placement of the batteries, just due to the inherent characteristics of an electric car, when you hit a bump, you get a lot of vertical movement, and particularly because electric cars are heavy as well, it's the sensations that you get can be at times very uncomfortable. Couple that with hard suspension and massive wheels, which is the trend these days, and ride quality in electric cars can be pretty bad sometimes, but this isn't like that. In actual fact, in most normal driving situations, you wouldn't think this is an electric car by the way it rides, I should say. It feels pretty natural, actually. You may hear a few bings and bongs. I've tried to turn everything off. I clearly have failed because the wheel is vibrating and there's a little bit of a bonging noise when I stray over the white line, but it's going to happen because I'm in a left-hand drive car in the UK. Mazda CX-60, please have some patience with me. Now this particular car is the larger battery model, so it's the 80 kilowatt hour. It's the NMC battery, and weirdly, when you go for the larger battery, you get the less powerful motor. 245 horsepower compared to 258 horsepower in the 68.8 kilowatt hour version. It's a bit strange. Normally, larger battery, you get the larger motor, but not here. So 245 horsepower these days doesn't sound a lot, does it? But it is enough. This car weighs 1,900 kilograms, just under 2 tons. It doesn't feel like a 2-ton car, I have to say. It feels much lighter on its feet than that. And when you actually floor the throttle, you do not get neck-snapping acceleration like you might get in a Tesla Model 3. Definitely the Model 3 Performance, and even some versions of the Polestar 2. This is a very measured way of accelerating, and I like that, because what with the comfortable ride and this really very luxurious interior, we've got the top spec, which we think is going to be the top spec in the UK, Takumi Plus. Couple this very luxurious interior with this nice ride quality that's not too soft, not too firm, good body control. The power delivery is spot on. Really like it. The other reason why it doesn't feel sporty is the power may be at the back, the motor may be at the back, sending its power to the rear wheels. It doesn't feel inherently like a rear-wheel drive car. It may feel like a rear-wheel drive car if we're on a circuit or something, but you're not really going to be taking this car on the track, are you? In normal, everyday driving situations, this car, unless you really, really do hurl it into a corner, and then you do feel a little bit of rear bias. But generally speaking, it feels quite kind of neutral, quite placid. Now overall, I do like this Mazda 6e. I think it looks tremendous. I love the quality of the interior, and even though it's not as I don't feel as though it drives in quite the way I think a Mazda should, which is very sporty, very engaging. It's a nice thing to drive. So on those points, I really do like this car. The thing that I just cannot get past, though, is all of this. I do feel for Mazda in this regard. They've realised that they do need to have an electric car competitor, and who better than to fast track your electric car development than to talk to the Chinese? So Mazda have done that, and this Changan car, which Mazda have Mazdaized, they've done a really good job of it, because you really wouldn't think that at its heart, this is a Chinese car. The thing which you cannot get away from, though, is the Chinese technology, and in particular this big screen. And I do feel for Mazda here, because particularly in the UK, for the last decade or so, Mazda have been saying that these kinds of screens are dangerous. Well, not dangerous, probably too strong a word, but distracting, and not the kind of technology they want in their cars. Which is why with cars like the Mazda 3, the CX-60 and CX-80, there's been a screen at the top of the dashboard that's been controlled with a rotary knob while you're moving, and then when you're stationary you can use it as a touchscreen. Here we haven't got any of that. Everything is done through this touchscreen. Now, to be fair, I think you would get used to all of this pretty quickly. It does on initial impressions, and this is a very short test drive, I do hasten to add. On first impressions, this does seem pretty well laid out. I've been in far worse cars, trust me. It's just a huge change. That's my only feeling about it. And being a big fan of Mazda's current range, with this attitude towards touchscreens and driver involvement, and I just feel as though the 6e is a bit of a step change from that typical Mazda ethos. Like I said, I think you would get used to it. It just makes this Mazda 6e feel very much like its competitors. And the thing is, over the past decade or so, Mazdas haven't felt like anything else.
Now, if I were a betting man, I'd wager Mazda would prioritise the smaller battery model here in the UK, as it still has a respectable 299 mile claimed range, but it has a higher maximum DC charging speed, quicker charging times, and a more powerful motor. But let's see once order books and sales get underway.
Of course, a lot of the success of the Mazda 6e is going to depend upon how it's priced. Now, Mazda UK, they can't give me specific details of the car because they don't know what specifications of the car they're going to be taking. You've got to remember, this car doesn't really arrive here in this country until next summer 2026. But they have told me in that typical way that pricing will be competitive, and it really does have to be, because of course this is going to be operating and competing in the fleet segment predominantly, also private buyers, but predominantly company car buyers. And they've been used to some amazing deals on things like the Tesla Model 3 and the Volkswagen ID.7. I think a lot of people may go for this car purely on the way it looks. It may not drive like a Mazda to which I'm used to, in which brand enthusiasts would recognise as a Mazda, but it still drives really well. I like the ride, it's very comfortable, the build quality is superb, and it has all the ingredients to be a really good, desirable and competitive electric saloon.